let's get started with Dr. Julia Klausli. She is the program director for the Master's in Psychology program. And I'll let her introduce herself, but I'll just say very, very quickly that she's well credentialed. She has her PhD that she earned from, I believe that was UT Dallas. Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah.
Excellent. Good. I believe that you served there as a research associate, different capacities of the family population. But Dr. Klausli is well credentialed. Always a pleasure speaking with her. And so I'm just going to turn it over to her now.
Yeah, thank you so much. Curious to just answer questions that people might have about the program. I think we've worked really hard the last few years to keep developing and growing to address different needs for people in different work and ministerial related settings. So that's why we've added the leadership concentration and marriage and family concentration. Just we have people who are in leadership settings, so they just love understanding the person better to be more effective in their work setting. People who work in different parish, diocesan level ministries with families. Just wanted to have more training in that area. So yeah, I'm excited. We're loving the development and always have such a range of students coming through. I think that's one of the things that is so rich about the MSP is that we have such a wide range of people from different ministry and work settings. Pretty big international community, so we love that for interactions and discussions. Is wonderful. So yeah, curious what questions people might have.
Yeah, so as they're also putting their questions together, and again, I'll just highlight, feel free to drop your questions in the chat or in the Q&A section. But Dr. Klausli, is it okay if I actually start with a question that maybe I can launch things?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, good. So with the university's mission that we integrate psychology with the Catholic Christian vision of human dignity, how is that implemented into the curriculum?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we, the way I would see it is like the way we do psychology is from an integrative perspective, right? You really, if you have come to love integration as we have at DMU, you just see the person holistically, which affects all aspects of psychology, right? It affects how you see human development because you see not only psychological development, you see spiritual development, right? You see the person through the wisdom of philosophy, but you see them also through theology and things we know true about the person. We're looking at spiritual development as well as other aspects of cognitive development, social emotional development. If you think, even I teach statistics, I love statistics, not everybody does, but everybody comes to, I think, appreciate it more throughout the program, is are we ethical in the way we do research, right? The kinds of questions we ask are deeply embedded in the view of the person that we have, and seeing the person as developmental, right? That's part of our premises, right? We see them as always able to grow and change by nature of being created by God, right? We have that deeply positive view of the person as developmental, which I think is beautiful and very enriching.
Yeah, that's great. Excellent. I'll just continue on if that's all right. And again, for all the guests, feel free to drop any questions. You might still be putting them together. But in the program, so it is an online program. It's the only one that's from beginning to end online. For students that come in, and I know that, as you mentioned, we have a lot of different types of students that are coming into this program. Some of them do have a background in online education, and some are coming in for the first time doing this online. What has been your experience on your side of it for students that are coming in for the first time doing this? Mm-hmm. And how do they usually fare jumping into a fully online program?
Yeah, I think great. I think the program is set up to be super user friendly. And by the time we have program orientation where we make sure everybody's very comfortable with our online platforms we're using. Everything is really, really user-oriented. You just go through the courses, all the materials are right there in each week. You're taught how to submit assignments online. And on top of that, we have really put in place wonderful support structures. There's academic support, there is technical support. You can just submit a question and somebody's there to help you almost 24/7, really. Academic support is 24/7 and tech support is very readily available throughout every week. So I think I think that the biggest jump is people who have never experienced it is that thought of this might be hard. I think by the time they're in week 2 or 3, they're really like, oh, this is actually not hard at all. This is just very easy, right? It's very, very accessible. So
it becomes from my experience speaking with students after they've jumped into it for only a couple of weeks, they've said that it's become second nature for them. Yeah, good. I have a lot of students that a lot of applicants rather that are looking toward this program because their long-term goal is to get their doctorate, and they have different goals for that. They might want to go into academia or research, and others want to eventually get their PsyD and becoming psychotherapists. With the concentrations, one of them that we offer is the PrePhD Focus. So how does that program, maybe you can explain this a little bit better as faculty, how does that concentration best prepare students for later on when they decide to get their doctorates?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So the pre-PhD track is really for people who are looking to go into a more research-oriented psychology doctorate. It can be social psychology, developmental psychology, educational psychology, right? There are so many different areas. And it really just, we do a capstone project. Every student does that, where you choose an area of interest and you, throughout the program and different courses, get to go deeper in that area of interest. The pre-PhD students will complete that by really taking one whole term to review and go deeper and really work on their writing and research skills. So you are very comfortable producing a well-written, well-researched research paper. And it'll be the topic of your capstone, right? So you're building on all the work you've done throughout the program, but it really just solidifies these skills that will be very, very valuable when you go on for doctoral work. Also, a lot of programs, especially in research psychology, they really like if you have a master's already. And that's a pretty common route to get a master's in an area and then go on for doctoral work. And also what's really wonderful is that if you want to go to a bit bigger state school for your PhD work, right, there's always really good opportunities to also do research at bigger state schools. To have this stop with us for the integrative perspective. You're not going to get that anywhere at the secular schools at all. So to come with that rich view of the person before you go into doctoral work, I think can be really helpful.
That's great. So I guess I'll continue asking questions again for the guests. Feel free to drop any questions that you have. But Dr. Klausli, so in the program, because it is fully online and it's an asynchronous format, so students are doing this, they're logging into their discussion boards at whatever time works for them. There is the virtual residency, which I believe is the only component, if I'm right about that, that's done synchronously. So that part is done live. They're doing it with their cohorts and their faculty, their professors. What does the virtual residency look like for students usually, and what does that all entail?
Yeah, so we've just added that this year because people had asked for a little more connecting time, and we found it just really helpful. So it's 2 days. We're trying to accommodate time zones from West Coast through Europe, Africa. So it's from 10 to 5, 9:30 to 5:30-ish. So, it's doable for everybody involved. We have different components. So we have 2 pieces on kind of diving into the integration piece and having some small group discussions with that, because it's such a helpful piece to have somebody present. Dr. Gross is the one presenting for us during those residencies right now. And then having small groups to discuss and be able to just sit in a room with somebody, sit in a room, Zoom room, and kind of interact on what questions do we have, and then bring them back to Dr. Gross to answer. So we have integration pieces like that. Then we have a little overview on the program, right? What does it mean to study psychology? We've worked really hard to align our program with APA guidelines for graduate level education in psychology. So we're going through those pieces, like what's exciting about this program? What are all the core pieces that we're touching on? And then we have skills practice times. So where we part of, doesn't matter if you go into leadership CEO work or you are a parish priest or a missionary with focus, we are doing skills practice, just basic empathic listening skills. What kind of questions do you ask, right? How do you connect with people? And also working on some helping people through some goal setting and how can you guide somebody, right? If you're in a leadership position, you have people who need to figure out, right, what goals do we have, both for the company, for the individual, what does personal growth look like? So we are having skills practice, how you can work with others on those things. So I think it's really rich because you're in the same space, in the same time zone, you're live. And then we have moments where we're all together, and then we break off into small groups. So then you're in a group of 3 or 4 people where you practice a skill or you discuss something you heard, so you can go a little deeper. But I think everybody feels a lot more connected. Most of our students have a WhatsApp group chat, so they're connecting over WhatsApp all the time over homework and questions, assignments. So that residency also really helps being connected from the first course on.
Excellent. So one of our guests, she asked a number of different questions. I'm just going to read them off, and some of these might be questions I can answer, but I'll just start. So she asked about live lectures, and so you had highlighted that the only sort of live component would be that that virtual residency.
So actually we have, so we have the virtual residency, but we do have, every single course has at least 3 live Zoom meetings. So every faculty member offers at least 3. So you can log on, they send dates out, so you can have live interaction at least half of the week. Some of the faculty offer more, but you can discuss assignments, ask questions, follow up on topics from the week. So that's in every single class. So the option for more live interaction is available. At this point, we're not making it mandatory because of the huge number of time zones. We literally have somebody on every continent on this planet. So the people in Japan and people in Honolulu, right, to accommodate all those time zones. We're not making it mandatory at this point, but it is available. And people can always request live Zoom meetings with faculty. So I meet with people all the time. If they're struggling in statistics, I offer additional Zoom meetings. And that's pretty much available in all courses. I know Dr. Gross in the integration course, he meets with everybody one-on-one to discuss their research papers.
Great. And then she also asked, is it possible to get licensed at a PhD level while not obtaining it during this master's program? So it sounds like, if I'm understanding correctly, is it possible to, there might be a couple, this might be multi-layered, but is it possible to become licensed at a PhD level while also in this program not pursuing the pre-PhD concentration?
So if you want to be clinical psychologist, so this is multiple levels, right? So licensing routes is either clinical mental health, right, which is a master's working with counselor education, or you become a clinical psychologist, which is doctoral level, or you can be a clinical educational psychologist. All those, you have to go through the whole program, right? It's very skills oriented. It's kind of a professional degree. So our program does not lead you to those licensing pieces. Now we have, like, if you go through the MSP and later decide I want to be a clinical mental health counselor, there's about 18 credits that would transfer over into our own counseling program. But that is not, it is ideal to go, if you're thinking clinical work, it is really helpful to go with a clinical program. Because APA is very particular, and so is KCREP, the two licensing agencies, main licensing places. So if and that's kind of to figure out what is the work picture that you have, right? Are you thinking private practice, sitting one-on-one, or working in a hospital setting, right? Working clinical mental health therapy work, then you'll want to go into a clinical program, right? We are applied psychology, so we have very, very broad applications. We go from leadership, a lot of people who run nonprofit agencies, and they say, we don't know enough about the person. We have missionaries, we have a lot of priests and consecrated who are teaching at seminaries, working discernment and formation. So across the board, right, we have very, very different, we have quite a growing group of medical people, doctors, nurses, physical therapists, who just, after a few years of work, just is fatigue in the sense, like, I really don't understand the deeper needs of the person, emotional needs. So they come for the MSP.
And there was another question, which is neuropsychology touched on in this program?
So we just added a course on cognition, emotion, and motivation, which is kind of an introduction to basic brain anatomy, right? What does the prefrontal cortex do in terms of reasoning and rational thinking? So it's an introduction to biological bases for behavior and emotion. It is not a full neuroscience course, and the program is not focused on neuroscience. So it is really giving the holistic view of the person. We have developmental psychology, we have psychopathology and introduction. So different applied pieces where you learn scientific mindedness, but we give an introduction to neuroscience, but not going a lot deeper into that.
Yeah, great. Now there was another question, which is, are exams proctored?
No. So exams are, so we don't do a huge number of exams. We do some exams and quizzes. Some of them are open book because the material by itself is complex enough that you just need to know how to answer it. So having the book or not is not gonna, can help you, and you can review, but you go deeper in the material. I think the research literature suggests the only way to truly do online exams is by timing them. So some exams do have a time limit, so people wouldn't have time to look up all the answers. But we do some exams, but not a huge number of exams. We do a lot of papers, discussions, reflection, research paperwork, where we kind of work on the material and then take it deeper and apply it.
Very good.
Good question. Yeah.
Now, there was a question, I might be able to answer this one actually, which was that there's a difference between this program and others. This program offers a 33 credit hour from beginning to end process, whereas other programs might be 36, which I think some consider that standard. That might be considered standard. I'm not exactly sure, but my answer to that, if that's all right, different universities have different types of curriculum. They might have something a little bit more unique to their mission or what it is that they're delivering to their students. And in fact, our program used to be 36 credit hours, but we've made that readjustment only recently. I believe that was at the beginning of the year. Maybe it was for the end of last year.
Well, part of the adjustment was that a large number of schools do have 30 or 33 credit hour master's in applied psychology. So to go a little more with what other schools offer is kind of a reason why we went down to 33 credits.
Great, yeah. So that's also allowed students to earn their degree just a little bit sooner than how it initially was set up. It also lowers the cost automatically, so that's another plus.
Yeah. Well, now that we offer, right, you can kind of double up with courses. So we have a cohort who are in and out in like 16 months, right? They may be on their way to PhD studies, or they have this little window of time. So in 14 to 16 months, they're done with the program. So we're just graduating a whole cohort this December of people who've gone through in 16 months. So that's a great opportunity, right, for furthering education, opening other doors. Yeah.
Great. So, I'm looking at the time, and before we conclude, because it looks like these were the questions that were presented to us, I just want to give you folks just one more opportunity if you have any last minute questions that we can hopefully answer for you. And if not, or if no questions come up this second, I'm also going to drop my contact information in here. So you're always welcome to reach out to me. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to meet with you one-on-one. So I'm going to put my email in here, and I'm also going to put my direct number in here. But Dr. Klausli, as I'm doing that, is there anything else, any advice that you'd like to give students that are looking into this program, or anything else that you'd like them to know as they're considering pursuing their degree?
Yeah. So one thing I want to mention is that we are starting a human services track this spring. That's the first we're starting to offer that. And because we have had a lot of people who work in these applied helping oriented fields. So it's a little more hands-on, has a little more skills practice. Group counseling is part of the courses, helping skills practice. So that's coming new, I think, for people who are looking to be in that helping case management services field. I think that'll be a very interesting and attractive track. Then I would say for people who are anxious about online education, I would just say there's really no reason to be worried. I think our faculty are very committed and supportive. There's a lot of support structures in place, and it really is a very just a great way of learning. I think it's because I think so a lot of people come from that traditional model of sitting in a lecture and then you go home and do your homework, right? The way our programs are developed, we're thinking formation of the person, right? So every week, every day, right, there's a learning piece. You read, you discuss with other students, you get individualized feedback from faculty every single week, and then you process that in an assignment, and then you get feedback again, and then you keep reading, you keep applying, you keep getting individualized feedback, discussing with students. So it's not like, some programs like you listen to your lectures and then you cram for an exam the day before, right? That's not how we're working. We are going a growth formation model. You are learning every week, every day. You have getting feedback and discussion feedback every single week, multiple times. So it's a wonderful, like slow growing, going deeper model of learning, which I think is really, really rich and really effective. So.
Yeah, I'll even just on top of that say that I spoke with an active student that I enrolled about a year ago, and her feedback has been very positive when it came to her ability to communicate with the faculty, just the ability that they're accessible. When she has questions, they're able, and I always tell students, by the way, if they're having difficulty getting in touch with whether it's faculty or other departments, they still have my contact number. I'm happy to redirect them, but I've never had to do that because our staff and our faculty has been so good at this. But not only that, I remember her mentioning how nervous she was about entering into a program. It's a little bit daunting to go back to school, but she feels very just well educated in this, and she's been able to test her mastery of the subject because of how the curriculum is laid out and how the faculty is actually working with her on this. So it's been a great experience for students. That's the feedback I've been getting anyway.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the richness of discussion. So 25% of our students live overseas, and just such rich interaction in the discussion boards, right? It's just a eye-opening, growing place that is just really exciting.
Excellent. All right, great. Well, that concludes our time. But but I really do appreciate all of you visiting here, just going through your questions. And Dr. Klausli, thank you so much for jumping in and just answering all the questions for us.
Yeah, very good to be here. Wish everybody all the best. Hope to see you in the program sooner or later. So
Yep.
good to see you.
All
Bye.
right, excellent. Take care.
Bye.